And a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens. My co-host is Jackson Probst.
Hi, Jeff. How's your spooky season been?
It's been good so far. And our guest today, we appreciate you coming in with the last-minute assist, Mr. Tom Michael.
Great to be here.
Director of Athletics at Eastern University. We had a guest who they couldn't get back to town, and talked to Tom on Friday, and he said, "I'll step in for you." So you're our sixth man, and we appreciate it today.
Well, I can answer the call once in a while yet.
There you go.
That's awesome.
I guess the big news in the OVC, a couple of things, is your commissioner, Beth DeBouche, was forced, not really forced, but she just chose to resign due to some family issues. So how does that affect the impact of you, or does it or not?
Yeah, it certainly does to an extent. I think that there's a little bit of volatility around conference alignment right now, and it's no secret that a few months ago we lost Tennessee Tech to go to the Southern Conference, and then just most recently Little Rock announced that they were going to go down to the ASUN and the United Conference with that deal. So yeah, I mean there's a component here that makes it a little bit more challenging. However, what I would say is that our presidents, this is my 12th year being at EIU and with the OVC, and our presidents and ADs are the most connected right now than at any other point in time collectively that I've been in the OVC. So that aspect of it is really encouraging for us as we move forward, trying to put a strategic vision, I think, together for the OVC. Who do we want to be? Where do we want to go? That type of thing, and then see if we can get replace a few of those members. I think would be the big picture.
Were you surprised when Little Rock, they just really joined not too long ago, they backed out at this point so early in the OVC tenure, or not?
I don't think surprise would have been the right way to categorize that. Probably disappointed more than anything. But they were an outlier. When some of the moves that have taken place over the last 5-6 years or so, it's really shifted the geographical footprint. And so Little Rock, when they joined, they were an outlier. At one point in time, we were an outlier, and we feel like we're inching a little bit closer to the middle in some ways, which is really, really good for a bus league. So yeah, I don't think was surprised, just disappointed.
Is one of the toughest things now is just the future scheduling when you have teams leaving and maybe at not really last second notice, but still it's only less than a year notice. So does that really affect some of the work you all have to do?
Yeah, for sure. Football schedules are the most complicated, just because I'm having conversations about scheduling games for 2030 and 2031 right now. So there's a limited number that we can play. You can only play obviously on Saturdays and so on and so forth. So the inventory isn't nearly as great. So when you lose a conference game like we're going to lose for next year with Tennessee Tech, somehow we've got to either pick that up or do something. So that is challenging. But as we've lost two members, then it becomes a little bit more challenging for the other sports from a scheduling standpoint. And I think that's why as we move forward, trying to map out a plan and a pathway to maybe attract some new members would help from that perspective too.
There you go.
Got it. So you said you've been with EIU Athletics for 12 years?
Yes. This is
That's
my
awesome.
12th.
Congratulations, by the way. Have you been an athletic director the whole time, or have you shifted positions? How long have you been an athletic director?
An athletic director. This is my 12th year. So
Okay.
I got my first AD chair here at EIU, but previously I was at Illinois for 18 years.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And what are some of the challenges with being an athletic director? It can be on a day-to-day basis, weekly basis, whatever it may be, even seasonal.
Yeah, I think it changes almost day to day, Jackson, to be honest. It's a much different chair today than it was in 2014 when I got here. And some of that is good, and some of it not as good. But the transfer portal and NIL space has really changed what we do and how we act and what we have to. The student athlete experience has always been fundamentally a core value in what we do for the student athlete experience, and so with the portal. There's always, it's perceived that the grass is greener somewhere else. So we're constantly trying to work on that. And then NIL and rev share, that component of in some sports, we're out trying to raise money to get it in kids' pockets, and that has changed dramatically. And
That's fair.
Did you ever think you'd be saying that?
no, well, no, and like we probably create most of these problems ourselves. If you look at athletic directors, and I'm not putting President Gatrell on the spot here, but ADs and presidents have created a big part of this mess, to be honest.
At LSU today, the governor of Louisiana wants to get involved with the coaching situation there. I mean,
and it's a $56 million payout, and it's hard for me to sit here and think that Congress is supposed to fix the problems that we have in intercollegiate athletics when we're creating most of them. There is a dynamic there that is somewhat out of our control, but I think a lot of people would look at it and say, hold on, you can buy out these contracts at this enormous. I think there's over $170 million just in football coaches in the first 9 weeks of the season of buyouts. $170 million. And one would say, you guys need to fix your own problems before somebody else comes in and tries to fix other ones.
Well, the other thing, and it's reared its head, and this is really more pro sports right now, but gambling. A couple of big arrests last week and by the FBI. And I guess the question I want to do, I mean, I think on a local basis we probably don't have the issue here, but would EIU Athletics ever accept, gambling sponsorship money, or is that something you guys have been told to stay away from in the OVC EIU, or is it something that really hasn't been brought to your attention yet?
Yeah, it hasn't filtered to us yet, Jeff. I think it's an interesting dynamic, because I think we would all be naive to think that college-aged individuals on college campuses aren't participating in some way, shape, or form. It is far too easily accessible through whichever online. It's not like you have to go somewhere and place a bet anymore. You can do it all via online. So I think we would be naive to think that that's not taking place. Obviously, with some of the things that you've read and I've heard about coming from last week, when the integrity of the game potentially becomes impacted by it, then it's really concerning. And you can see, and history has also shown that can be a really bad space, particularly for student athletes, to be involved in. And the prop bets that might be in there, and it's not just winning and losing, and hey, I may not make a layup or make a free throw so that we can cover, or whatever the case might be, but now it's a prop bet, and those things are impacted, and then what happens when you get in too deep, or whatever the case might be. So it's certainly a concern as we sit here today.
Did you address that with your coaches over the past week, or is this something you do annually just to make sure that they tell the kids?
Yeah, annually we do talk to our student athletes and our coaches about it. There'll be some new NCAA legislation that comes out on November 1st, and that'll give us another educational opportunity with our coaches. But yeah, it's frightening in some ways because as a student athlete, you may not even be aware of what kind of questions people are asking when you're walking from class, or you're out on the weekends, or your neighbor, or whatever the case might be, and what impact those things can have if you're on a particular team that has an interest in those things.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on. Fall sports update. Give us a kind of an overview where we're at. I know the women's soccer tournament starts this week and OVC. So give us an update. Yeah,
Dirk and Deanna have done a great job with that squad. The ladies have played really well. Hit a tough part of the schedule. Last three the last three soccer games. but excited to finish fourth. We'll host on Thursday, and then we'll play on Sunday at 11:30. So excited to be able to have part of the OVC championship on our campus. Friday morning, we've got cross country OVC championships at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. So might be a little bit of a crisp morning for cross country championships here, but I'm excited to be able to host that. Volleyball's having a tremendous fall. Had a huge win on Saturday down at Little Rock.
Right?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Really, they're down 2-1 in the fourth. They get down 9-1 to start that fourth set, and they come back. First time they tie it was at 24-24. Then they win 28-26, and then they come in and win the fifth. I mean, just a great gritty match. Ryan Millar, our new coach there, is doing an amazing job with those ladies, and they're performing at a super high level. And then football, we lost to Heartbreaker on Saturday. We're up 16-3 in the fourth quarter. We missed 2 field goals. We just didn't finish it, and that's frustrating for coaches and players and everybody involved. And got another opportunity this weekend with Family Weekend in UT Martin, and it appears that weather-wise is supposed to be good. So I hope that everybody can come out and enjoy the day and hopefully free concert. Jake Maurer.
That's awesome.
It's always exciting to have Jake back on campus, and when folks get to Nashville to be able to see him at Tootsie's and on Broadway. But he certainly bleeds blue, and excited to have him be able to perform in the tailgate area. So a lot of exciting things. It's really getting up to a busy time too, with basketballs starting here next week. But that's what makes it fun.
Gotcha. So you brought up the student athletes like multiple times throughout this session. So how, in your 12 years that you've been an athletic director, how have you seen the student athlete experience change over time? And I know COVID's going to come up, but besides COVID.
Yeah, I got into this business because of my experience as a student athlete, albeit a long time ago, Jeff.
And by the way, at the end of this, we want to ask you a couple of questions, see if you remember some of that.
There's
a tease.
Okay. So I stepped right into that one.
Yes, you did,
but the student athlete experience is imperative to me, and what we're able to do and what we should be able to do. So it's a significant priority, and when I have the opportunity to meet with recruits and talk to the teams each year, I talk to them about how we work every day to try to improve that experience. So sometimes there's little things that impact that. Sometimes there's bigger things, whether that's a locker room or a facility or more money in a travel budget or whatever that might be. We're constantly trying to look to improve that student athlete experience. And fundamentally, there's a couple things that I would say is, one, I firmly believe that our student athletes get to use their sport as an opportunity for them to better prepare themselves to be successful when they leave our institution with a degree in their hand. So that's first and foremost. And then with that, I believe that they become our best recruiters based on their student athlete experience. If it's a very, very positive student athlete experience, when someone asks them where they went to school, they're going to say with enthusiasm and passion that they played X sport at Eastern Illinois and received their degree in whatever that is. And if it's not a good experience, they're going to say with not a lot of enthusiasm that they got their degree from EIU and this is what it was. So I feel like that's fundamentally an important component as they go through this. And then lastly, I just believe that it's their programs that they're representing. And so when we can stress that and we get that full buy-in from the student athletes that it's their program, then that experience becomes better. And then there's ownership and responsibility for however they go about their business.
That's awesome.
Baseball stadium is going through some changes right now. Talk about that and who we can thank and all that.
Yeah, it is a really exciting time. Last year, there was a lot of work done to the facade of the grandstand and the dugout areas, which is really good. And then they're starting work on putting lights out at
That's awesome.
Newly named Frost Field. And so Harry and Gladys Frost have been very, very generous with their resources, and and Harry is a very, very big baseball fan and a huge Cub fan, and I try not to give him too much of a hard time about that.
They did make the playoffs.
They did
That's
make
fair,
the
that's
playoffs,
fair.
yes. But it was something that we worked with them on, and really excited to be able to do that for the baseball program and provide lights out there for the first time. And it gives us an opportunity maybe to get some more games in there and do different things.
How proud of you were you to be the athletic director at Eastern Illinois University on Saturday night when a kid from Eastern Illinois University pitches in a World Series?
We just, it kind of gives you goosebumps sitting here that our institution can put out quality individuals that excel at the highest level, and Will obviously came here and did a great job and continues to represent and do things the right way, and for him to get an opportunity in the biggest spotlight there is for that sport, it's incredible, and it's great for our baseball program. Certainly super excited for Will, and not that I'm a Dodgers fan or a Blue Jays fan or whatever, but you become a Dodgers fan really, really quickly when you have those opportunities.
Well, and I knew with the way it worked out, you didn't know for sure if he was going to get a play in a World Series because relief pitchers are never guaranteed.
Yeah.
And he's in a 5-1 game too that the Dodgers must win. I mean, it's pretty big time for Will Klein. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, but super excited because his pathway hasn't.
He's kind of zigged and zagged.
Yeah, and he's kind of bounced a little bit. Was with the A's for a while, and you've got a guy like Hayden Birdsong who's in the Giants organization and has really had a pathway in there that's been really special too. But Will has had to zig and zag through that and has manipulated it very, very well.
Yeah.
How is it? Do you like having Western Illinois in the OVC? I mean, that commonality, Eastern versus Western, and all that stuff back. Do you like that?
Oh yeah. I think there's it's just a natural rival with them, I mean that's all super beneficial for us at EIU and what that means, and I think I feel like we've got the league stabilized right now, and as we're able to continue to do that, now we can build some other rivalries that go with those types of things. They were just here recently for volleyball, and their AD came down, and just to be able to do some of those things as well in terms of intensifying the rivalries that we can put in there. I think just makes it better for college athletics, and the competitive side of everybody says that, hey, we all want to make sure we compete the right way, but winning and losing, it's important, and they keep score, so we might as well be on the W side as opposed to the other side.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about Coach Millar for the volleyball, but we had him on a few weeks ago, and we were all like, man, you get to see what people would run through a wall for this guy. When you see the new stadium, or is it a stadium? New, I guess the updated, more than new, over there at
McAfee,
the court,
Gardella Family Court,
Gardella Court.
When you see the excitement of a new coach and a new field and all that stuff, how proud are you as the athletic director?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's really about making sure that we can provide great experiences for our student athletes. So I want to get all of our hires right. That obviously doesn't always happen for a variety of reasons, and sometimes we just make a bad decision. Sometimes there's other factors that are involved in that. But the most, and this is what I texted him on Saturday night, was for me to be able to, and I was down at Charleston Southern, so I was watching it on the app on the sideline. I'm trying to follow the score on the sideline, and then when the game was over, then I was able to pull it up on ESPN Plus, but I'm watching it on my phone. But what I told him was just one, the fight and grit that the team has is really, really special, because in the past, after they got just demolished in the first set, they would have quit. And then what happened to them in the fourth set, they would have quit. And the grit and fight that he's instilled in them. But the most important thing is the smiles that they have on their faces. That's the part where, at least for a moment, I can get some satisfaction in that their experience for those ladies that are seniors, Tori and Lily, they're playing like seniors. They've been called to do something. Tori's bounced from the right side to the left side. Lily didn't play for 3 weeks before Western Illinois, and then Destiny gets hurt and she gets put in that afternoon. That afternoon goes out and has 16 kills.
Wow.
And it wasn't that she wasn't playing because she wasn't practicing well. It was because the others were playing better. That doesn't mean that Lily wasn't playing well. It's just the others were playing so well. So that's the satisfaction, Jeff, that when, particularly in that program, what they've gone through, to be able to see them playing with smiles on their faces and the enthusiasm that they have, that's the joy for me.
Got an email from Jimmy Pilson this weekend. He wanted me to make sure that we remember today to talk a little bit about the fundraiser that he's doing for EIU football.
Oh yeah. We're doing the raffle for the golf cart side by side piece, and Jamie and his family have been so good to the program. And not just football program, but to the athletic department, but certainly Jamie's ties and then with Jared and Jack being part of the program as well. Certainly what they do for the football program is really, really good. So the interest has been good, and we'll continue to sell more raffle tickets and see if we can find a good winner for that.
There you
awesome.
go. You had an interesting question about the layoffs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, for those who may know or don't know, people have been getting laid off here at Eastern. I'm sure you're well aware. How has that affected? In what way, shape, or form has it affected EIU athletics? Has it not? Has it been impactful in student athletes, other professors in the athletic department? Just how has it impacted EIU athletics?
Yeah, I would say it's had a minimum impact in terms of our staffing piece. We do have. We do have a retirement that's coming up that we won't be refilling that position, and that's challenging as of are the other positions that have all been impacted through this. But what we really try to do, Jackson, is try to minimize the impact that it has on the student athletes as much as we possibly can. We try to make sure that we're spending everything as positive as we can from a recruiting standpoint. But they also, whether it's negative recruiting by other institutions or just simply doing their own research, they see some of the things, and then we have to answer those questions of what that means and how that potentially impacts them. And certainly we can continue to support EIU in what's taking place, and believe in the mission that President Gatrell is moving forward with the Board of Trustees, and still provide them, again, going back to that student athlete experience, as best as we can through all of the things. And my hope is that it certainly doesn't have the impact that it did 8 or 9 years ago when we went through that, all of that, and it doesn't appear to be the case right now, and hopefully we can continue to make that
It's always
happen.
great. Mm-hmm.
We're talking to Tom Michael, the Director of Athletics at EIU. One of the things I want to talk a little bit about is obviously basketball is coming up in the winter sports season. But do you think basketball starts a little too early? I know you're a basketball player at heart, but do you think it starts too early? It just seems early to me. I don't know.
Yeah, they've really changed the way that practice schedule goes. I can remember. And it fluctuated, and for whatever reasons, we weren't ever explained. We were just told when the first official day of practice was going to be. But there were times when it was October 15th. There were times when it was November 1st, and you had Midnight Madness on Halloween and a theme around all of those things. So, the teams were probably able to officially start practice somewhere September 20th-ish, something around that time. A whole month before. I think the concern is that you have to really make sure you balance that out. I always felt like there was a burnout aspect because the season particularly for basketball, spanning 2 semesters, you really don't get a Thanksgiving break. You get a minimal Christmas break, and possibly, if things go well, then you don't really get a spring break either. But
you don't want a spring break.
Yeah, you don't want a spring break. But you're here over all of those quote unquote breaks and that's challenging from a mental standpoint to stay focused. So I guess the long-winded answer to that is, yeah, I think it's a long season, and again, we probably have done that to ourselves for a variety of reasons.
I also want to talk a little bit about the big upcoming trip for the EIU football team heading to Alabama, which is, you think about going to Alabama. I mean, it's going to be great for the kids and the students, but also the sponsors and some of the people. So talk about the trip and how it really came about.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that we're working on games for 2030 and 2031. I think I've got 31, getting close to having that done. So it's done several years in advance, and Adam Cushing was still our coach at the time when he and I discussed the possibility of maybe going down there and doing it, and it just, it's really for our players. It's a game of a lifetime to be able to go with the history and I mean, we play an FBS game every year, and last year we went to Illinois and we were at Northwestern, and that's phenomenal, and those experiences are great. A few years ago we went to South Carolina. SEC football is a little different product, and the pageantry that goes around that, but by far, without a doubt, I mean, our basketball team's playing at Kentucky. We played at Kansas. I mean, they've played in some really, really special places, but there has not been any game in the last 12 years that I've been here that has drawn even remotely close to the excitement that this Alabama game has brought from our alums and fans and things like that. We were allotted 1,000 tickets, and I think we gave less than 100 back, which is really good from our perspective. We typically don't travel that great from a football perspective, but I think everybody's looking forward to it, and I mean, we have to go in there with the right expectations. Certainly, I don't think, and they're playing phenomenal football. So the expectations are probably a bit different as you go down there and do that, and we'll try to get down there a little bit earlier on Friday and make sure the kids can really experience what that stadium is like, and then there's a component that we still have to play a football game, but there'll be some pageantry again that we'll experience with it too, and that will be good for our fans and donors.
All right, 1 minute. We'll go into the silly questions. Not really silly, but just to see if Tom can remember. Tom played basketball at the University of Illinois, Jackson, if you didn't know. Do you know how many college basketball games you were in the Illini starting lineup?
Oh. I would say maybe 35.
44, not bad. Not bad.
Pretty close.
How many total points did Tom Michael score at the University of Illinois? Total points.
I'm going to say 725.
Whoa, wow.
Was way over?
728.
Oh my gosh.
That's incredible.
That's
Yeah, no
amazing.
idea.
So
All right, no idea.
honestly, I do want to know, what is your favorite sport? And I know you're probably going to say basketball, but like, other than basketball, what you played in college?
Now you're putting me on the spot, Jackson. That's not completely fair, since we have 19 of
We
them.
have 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
But no, I say this all the time. What volleyball and softball have done for their sports respectively around the country have really generated a ton of interest and fan support for
That's
them.
awesome.
And
We're out of
that's
time.
really
Sorry.
positive.
So thank you. I appreciate it so much coming in,
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, guys.